Hello, and welcome to the Polymath Token Studio demo, where you'll learn how easy it is to create and manage a security token using Polymath. Now at Polymath, our goal is to make security tokens simple and accessible to all. And how we do that is with three main keys, and you'll see those keys today on the demo. The first key is the smart contracts that we've deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. And an important thing to note about these smart contracts is that anytime we deploy code to the Ethereum mainnet, we ensure that that code is audited by an independent third party. So above and beyond our own internal review process with our developer team, we ensure that any code that we deploy to the Ethereum mainnet has been independently audited. The second key is the Polymath Token Studio. And so that's what we'll be using today to interact with those smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. Now you'll notice throughout the entire demo, at no point do I go into my command line interface. At no point do I need to know exactly how Ethereum works. At no point do I need to be a blockchain developer. And that's what enables a non-technical security token issuer to issue a security token very easily. The third key is the service provider marketplace. And so at Polymath, we are taking care of the technology for your security token and your security token offering. But there are some other areas where you might want some help to round out your team of service providers. So maybe that's with legal help. Maybe that's with fundraising through a broker dealer. Maybe that's with KYC and AML, or perhaps custody. And so at Polymath in the Token Studio, we make it very easy for you as a security token issuer to connect with these other service providers that you may want for your security token. And we'll see what that looks like as we go throughout the demo inside the Polymath Token Studio. A few things you'll need in order to use the Polymath Token Studio. One is a Web3 wallet like MetaMask. And so you can see that I have MetaMask installed as a browser extension, and I'm using Google Chrome as my browser today. However, you can use MetaMask with a few different browsers as well. What else you'll need in order to interact with the Polymath Token Studio is some ETH and Poly. And so you can see that I'm on the Kovan test network right now, so I'm just testing out the Polymath Token Studio. However, if I were to actually create my security token, I'd want to switch this over to the main Ethereum network. Since I'm just testing out the Polymath Token Studio today, I want to see how it works. I'm on the Kovan test network. You can see I have Kovan ETH in my wallet, and I also have Kovan Poly in my wallet here. So with that being said, I think we should jump into the demo. I'll click this button here, create your security token. And here we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm signing a transaction using my Ethereum address that I have selected in MetaMask. And we can see up here in this top right hand corner, the Polymath Token Studio knows that that's this address, 0x3a ... ending in 2fa. And what I'm doing by signing this is I'm saying, this is who I am. I am this address ending in 2fa. This address ending in 2fa is who owns my token. So it's the ultimate owner of the token and the smart contract associated with it. And it also allows us to link all of these activities that I'm doing in the Polymath Token Studio together. So you'll notice I'm not using my email. I'm not creating a user ID for Polymath. Because this is a decentralized app built on Ethereum, I'm simply using my Ethereum address to represent my identity. So I'll sign this transaction here. And now we'll reserve a token symbol. And so you can reserve a token symbol up to 10 characters. Now let's say I want to make the corp token. Well, you can see an error message pops up and it actually says that specified ticker already exists. And so at Polymath, we have a unique naming system. And since somebody has created the corp token in the past, that means that no one can create the corp token in the future. And so I need to figure out my own unique symbol for this token that I'm creating. So let's try corp-12345. Nobody has created the corp-12345 token in the past, so I am able to reserve that token symbol. And you can see my address right here, ending in 2FA, that I will be the owner of this token symbol. So I'll click Reserve Token Symbol. You can see this comes at a cost of 250 Poly today. I'll click Confirm. And then with MetaMask, we'll just confirm these two transactions here. And as we're going along in the Polymath Token Studio, we can constantly reference Etherscan to look at what's actually happening on the Ethereum blockchain. We have another confirmation there with MetaMask, and we can see what's happening on the Ethereum blockchain. You can see this transaction is pending, so miners are about to include it into a block, and then we'll be good to go. There we go, check marks. Click continue. And so we'll direct our attention over here to the right side of the screen with this countdown clock. So we've just reserved our token symbol, and we now have just under 15 days in order to go from token symbol reservation to token creation. And so if we don't create our token within that time, the token symbol will become available for others to take. However, if we do create our token in that time, then that token symbol becomes ours forever. Now you can see this is just under 15 days when we're on testnet. Remember, we're on the Kovan test network, just testing out the Polymath Token Studio. But when we're on Ethereum mainnet, that countdown clock is 60 days, 60. So you have 60 days to go from token symbol reservation to token symbol creation. You can see here that we're now in the Polymath Service Provider Marketplace. And this is that third key that I talked about earlier in terms of what makes it easy to create and manage a security token with Polymath. Here you can connect with any of the third-party service providers that you might want to help with your security token. And so let's say I'm interested in an advisory firm helping me out. Maybe they're a broker-dealer, maybe they can help me fundraise, they might be able to help me structure my offering, things of that nature. And let's say I'd like to speak with a few of these firms. I just click the firms I'm interested in speaking with, click Apply to Selected. And I'll just fill out some information about my company. And so I'm filling this information out because this is what's being sent to these firms in order for us to start a dialogue in terms of working together. And so I'll maybe include a link to a presentation about my company, management team, maybe my corporate structure. And so the nice thing about this is none of this information is going to Polymath. Okay, this is being sent directly to these firms that you're interested in working with, nobody else. And so this allows you as the security token issuer to remain in complete control of your own data. And on top of that, you can send them links to something like Box or Dropbox or Google Drive so that you can password protect all of this information. So maybe if you reach out to 3 or 4 firms, you send them links to your documents, you decide you only want to work with one of the firms, well, then you can just revoke the other firm's access to these documents. So again, very important in terms of the security token issuer remaining in complete control of your own data. So I'll click submit, and so that gets sent off to those firms. And now we can start a dialogue and figuring out how we can start to work together. So I'll move over to the legal tab. Maybe I need a legal firm to help me out with my offering. So here we go. I might be interested in speaking with Airden Burles and a few other firms as well. We'll click Apply to Selected. The information's auto-populated from before to make it easy on you. Submit. KYC. So very important in terms of KYCing the investors that are going to be investing into my security token. So maybe I'm interested in speaking with Cabin, Summon Substance, and Nike. I'll click Apply to Selected. Again, submit. That information gets sent off to those service providers. And now let's move over to marketing. Let's say I have a marketing firm that I've worked with in the past. I'm very happy with the work they've done. I have no need for a new marketing firm. Well, that's totally fine. You can click I have my own and move on to the next tab. And it's important to note that you do not need to use the firms that are in the service provider marketplace. These firms are simply suggestions where we're saying Polymath is going to take care of the technology for your security token and your security token offering, but you may want some help from some firms that focus on their own areas of expertise, like legal and like KYC and AML. But if you have your own firms that you're comfortable working with, that's totally okay. You're not required to work with these firms. These firms are simply suggestions to get you started on the right track. And so with custody, I might be interested in speaking with BitGo and Prime Trust. So I'll click Apply to Selected. Again, same process, submit. Now, token sale platform. I might want to speak with both CrowdEngine and Series 1 about things like investor onboarding and how investors will actually be contributing into my offering. Apply to Selected, submit, and we're good. And so in just a few minutes, we've reached out to a number of different firms that can help us with our security token and with our security token offering. So I think we're ready to create our token. And here we go, a final few steps in order to create our security token. What's the security token name? Well, we can call it the Corp12345 token. Do we want our security token to be divisible or indivisible? So said another way, do we want our token holders to be able to hold fractions of a token or not? So if we make it divisible, they will be able to. If we make it indivisible, our token holders will be only able to hold whole numbers. So 1 token or 5 tokens or 10 tokens, they won't be able to hold 9.5 tokens. I'm going to make this divisible. We can also add additional token information, and so this is going to actually be burned into our token, and anybody that comes across our corp token on a block explorer like Etherscan, for example, will be able to see this information very easily. And so let's say we want this to be our website / token. And so typically what issuers might want to do here is put something like a link to an investor presentation, just so that if somebody comes across the token, they can easily learn more about it. Or if a current token holder wants to very quickly reference, oh, where's the investor presentation? They know where to look. And now we can also limit the number of investors who can hold this token. And so this is very important in terms of regulatory compliance. So typically in the United States, if you want to be a private company, and so you do not want to be subject to public reporting requirements, you'll need to have less than 2,000 shareholders. So if you're issuing an equity token and you want to have a private company in terms of the eyes of the United States, well, you'll want to set a limit in terms of the number of token holders you have to 1,999. It's pretty cool that we're moving from this world where regulatory compliance is maintained from a person, somebody like a transfer agent or a lawyer saying, hey, you can't make this trade, or hey, we are not going to allow this trade because it will violate the 1,999 investor rule that we've set in place. We're moving from that world to a world where regulatory compliance is maintained through software and through code. And so we can actually bake regulatory compliance into security tokens itself, which is one of the main benefits of security tokens, having this world where we can actually bake rules, especially in terms of compliance, into securities themselves. And so I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to create my security token. You can see it comes at a cost of 250 poly today to do this. Click confirm. And then we'll just click confirm here with these 3 MetaMask notifications. The first one being approving the poly spend, the next one being creating the security token, and the third one being limiting the number of investors. And you can see here that with limiting the number of investors, it's actually a separate transaction from creating the security token. And so the nice thing about what we've built at Polymath is that everything is modular by design. Meaning if you need to change the number of investors, it's not like a process of you have to destroy the token and create a whole brand new token. And so updates to the token can actually be made without affecting the base smart contract, if you want to think of it that way, without affecting the actual security token contract itself, because the contract is calling these other contracts in order to satisfy different things, like limiting the number of investors, for example. So these transactions are completed and our token has been created. So we can actually reference it here with this token address. We'll head over to Etherscan and just take a look. So here we go. Here's our contract, 0x013 ending in 1BC. And we can actually take a look at the contract. All of this is open source, so you can see the entire contract as it exists on the Ethereum blockchain. And also important here, we can see that the contract source code has been verified. So very important there, just from a security perspective. So we've created our token. Now it's time to mint some tokens, right? We want to mint tokens maybe to our early investors, maybe to our co-founders. And this is a function that you would use on an ongoing basis, perhaps, if you needed to distribute and mint new tokens and send those to some token holders. So it's a very easy process to do this. All we need to do is upload a CSV file into the Polymath Token Studio. And you can see here the format of the CSV file. The first column is going to be the ETH address of the person or entity we want to mint tokens to. The next is a sell lock update. So at what point can this address sell tokens? Next is a buy lock update. At what point can this address buy tokens? Next is a KYC and AML expiry date. So at what point must this address refresh their KYC information? And then finally, the number of tokens that we want to mint to that address. And so let's see what this looks like. I have a mint list here saved. So it's just these 5 columns: ETH address, sell lock update, buy lock update, KYC and AML expiry date, and number of tokens we want to mint. So I'll open this, we'll click mint tokens, confirm, and then we'll just confirm these two transactions here with MetaMask. And you can see here this first transaction is whitelisting the addresses. And so we'll talk about the whitelist more in detail in the future, but the way to think about it, here's how I explain it. Nobody on Earth can hold a security token created through Polymath until the security token issuer adds that address onto the whitelist. And so that's what enables the security token issuer to maintain compliance on an ongoing basis. The security token issuer, potentially in conjunction with somebody like a broker-dealer or with a KYC provider or with a secondary exchange, they are controlling access to the token. So they can prevent certain people from holding the token. They can set restrictions like buy lockup restrictions, sell lockup restrictions, KYC and AML expiry restrictions. The token issuer has the ability to set all of those things into their token. So again, that's what enables the security token issuer to maintain compliance on an ongoing basis. So not only in the primary market when they're selling these tokens for the first time, but also to maintain compliance in the secondary market on an ongoing basis throughout the entire life cycle of the token. So we can see here these tokens were minted successfully, so all good there. So we'll click continue. And now we can actually go back to Etherscan to take a look at the token, and we'll see we now have this token tracker tab here. So we can click and we can actually view who our token holders are. And so if you remember from the CSV file, we had those 4 addresses we minted tokens to. We minted 1 million tokens to the first address, and then 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. And this first address here, this ending in 2FA, if you remember, this is actually my address that we've been using in the Polymath Token Studio. And so we can go take a look at what those tokens look like in a wallet. And to do that, I'll copy the token address. We'll head over to MetaMask, Hamburger, scroll down and add a token. This is a custom token. We'll paste the token contract address, and you can see here that MetaMask recognizes, oh, yep, I know this contract address. This is the Corp 12345 token, and there's 18 decimal places in that token. We'll click Next, Add Tokens. You can see here I have my 1 million Corp tokens in my wallet. And so since we've been talking about the whitelist, let's see how this actually works in practice. So let's try to send some tokens around. Let's try to send some tokens to this second wallet I have here. Let's try to send 100,000 tokens to this address. So I'll click Next and confirm. And so this address that I'm sending tokens to is one of the addresses on the whitelist. And so what's happening right now in the background is the token is trying to make sure whether or not it can be transferred. It has to satisfy 2 main criteria in order to do that. 1, can the address attempting to send tokens today send tokens? Yes, okay, checkmark. Is the address attempting to receive tokens today able to receive tokens? Yes, okay, checkmark. And so we can see here that this transaction was confirmed because the whitelist allowed it to occur in conjunction with what we call the transfer manager. So the token, anytime it's attempted to be transferred, calls the transfer manager, and the transfer manager checks the whitelist, and it checks those 2 criteria we just talked about. Can the address attempting to send tokens today send tokens? Can the address attempting to receive tokens today receive tokens? And so because those criteria were satisfied, the transaction was confirmed and it was completed. So we can actually refresh on Etherscan here to look at the Ethereum blockchain to see the updates. And so we can see here that I now have 900,000 tokens in my wallet, and this second address here has 200,000 tokens in its wallet. But now that we've seen what a successful trade looks like, let's see what an unsuccessful trade looks like. So I'll go back to my wallet. I'll go back to my Corp tokens, and I'll try to send tokens to an address that is not on the whitelist. So I'm trying to send tokens now to an Ethereum address that has not been KYC and AML verified by the security token issuer or by our KYC provider. So I'll try to send to an address all the way down here that I know is not on the whitelist. So I'll try to send again 100,000 tokens, confirm. And remember what's happening here, as we see this pending wheel going around, we can see the token is calling the transfer manager, who's looking at the whitelist, who's saying, is this transaction allowed to occur? And the transfer manager checks the whitelist and it says, okay, is the address attempting to send tokens able to send tokens? Yes, okay, check mark. But is the address attempting to receive tokens able to receive tokens? Hold on, I actually don't see this address on the whitelist anywhere. I need to make sure that this transaction fails. And so we can see here that this transaction failed. If we refresh Etherscan, we can see that no tokens have moved. So again, that's what enables the security token issuer to maintain compliance on an ongoing basis. We've seen what some trades look like as well. I think it's time to go program our security token offering. So we'll hit this STO tab here. We have two security token offering contracts available today, one being the capped STO, the other being the USD Tiered STO. We're going to take a look at the USD Tiered STO today for the demo. And let's start programming the STO, and we'll talk about it as we go through. First thing we can see here, the USD Tiered STO contract is verified on Etherscan, and there's also a third-party audit report if you're so inclined to read through that. With the STO, we can set a start date and an end date. So let's say we want to make it start a week from now. We want to give our investors some time to go through KYC, and we want to end it a few months from now. We can raise funds in ETH, Poly, and or DAI. So you can see here, at any point we can add and remove any of these tokens. We can set a minimum investment amount for all investors. So let's say we don't want anybody contributing less than $100 US. You can also set a maximum investment amount for non-accredited investors by default. And so this is a global amount for all non-accredited investors. However, you'll see later that we can program individual limits on individual non-accredited investors. And if you're paying attention, you can see, oh, these are US dollar amounts, right? So we're not setting the price of our tokens in Poly or in ETH or in DAI. We're actually setting them in USD. So what we're doing is we're using an oracle to see, okay, an investor contributed X amount of ETH. That actually translates to this amount of USD. This is how many security tokens they should receive. So what this USD tiered STO contract allows you to do is it allows you as the security token issuer to think in US dollar terms. It allows you to price your offering in US dollar terms. And so it also allows your investors to think in US dollar terms, which is what we've seen the biggest demand for to date, is this US dollar priced offering. We can set multiple investment tiers. So let's say we want to sell 1 million tokens for $1. We want to sell a subsequent 1 million tokens for $1.10. And we want to sell a final 1 million tokens for $1.20. And so you can see here we're looking to raise 3.3 million US dollars in exchange for 3 million Corp tokens. And the nice thing about setting multiple investment tiers is we can entice investors to invest earlier, because investors can see, oh, if I invest in the first 1 million tokens, I only have to pay $1. However, if I wait, I might have to pay $1.20 for tokens. So that's the nice thing about multiple investment tiers. Final couple steps here to confirm and launch our STO. We need to set an ETH address to receive funds raised during the STO, and also to set an address for unsold tokens. So for the funds raised during the STO, we found that a lot of security token issuers do not want to hold on to 3 million US dollars worth of cryptocurrency. So even though I'm using my own address here, right, ending in 2FA, even though I'm using my own address to receive the funds raised during the STO, a lot of security token issuers are using a third-party custodian for this. So if you remember when we were in the service provider marketplace, one of those custodians would give you an address, you would input that here, just so that a third-party custodian is the one holding onto cryptocurrency, and you can offload that responsibility onto them. And finally, this unsold tokens address. So let's say we only sell 2.8 million Corp tokens. Well, the remaining 200,000 tokens will go to this address. And again, that could be your own address as the security token issuer, or that could be one of a third-party custodian. So we'll confirm and launch the STO. You can see here that this STO contract costs 100,000 Poly today in order to use. We'll click confirm. Confirm here with MetaMask. And then we'll have one more confirmation there to actually deploy and schedule the STO. Perfect. So we can see that both those transactions were completed, and so our STO has been deployed. We can go back to the STO tab, and we can take a look at the contract as it exists on the Ethereum blockchain using Etherscan. And remember, all of this code is open source, so we can always take a look at what's actually going on in the contract itself. So here we have our STO. There's a little over 7 days until it will start. And here we can see our progress bar right here. So this is where we will see funds coming in and filling up until we hit that 3.3 million US dollar cap. And now that we've programmed our STO, let's head over to the Compliance tab in the Polymath Token Studio to make some updates to our whitelist. So here we have the Compliance tab, where we can make changes to our whitelist. So maybe we need to add new investors onto our whitelist so they can participate. Maybe we need to make changes to an existing investor. This is where we can do all of that. Let's take a look at what that actually looks like in practice. I'll hit the Import Whitelist button, and you can see here, it looks very similar to the mint list that we saw earlier, right? So there's an ETH address, a sell restriction date, a buy restriction date, KYC and AML expiry date, and a few other columns as well. So can the investor buy from the STO? True or not true? Are they exempt from any percentage ownership restrictions? True or not true? And also, are they accredited? And if not, is there any specific limit on this investor in terms of what they're able to contribute? And so let's now upload our file. You can see here I have the whitelist for the USD Tiered STO. And right, looks a lot like the mint list that we had before. Simply a CSV file with a few columns. Right, ETH address, sell lockup date, buy restriction date, KYC and AML expiry date. Can this address buy from the STO? Are they exempt from any percentage ownership restrictions? And we'll take a look at what this looks like in a little more detail in just a second. Is the investor accredited? True or not true? And if they aren't accredited, is there any specific limit on what they can invest? So here we go. Open, import whitelist, confirm, and we'll just confirm a few transactions here with MetaMask, and we'll be all good. Confirm. Great, so we've made the updates to our whitelist, and so now those investors that we added onto the whitelist, those ETH addresses, they will be able to participate in our security token offering, subject to the restrictions we've also placed on them. When we were looking at the whitelist, there was that one column that had ownership restrictions, and so here's where we can take a closer look at that. We can turn these on. We're enabling the ownership restrictions here. Continue. And you can see here that I've set a limit on the percentage that an individual investor can hold of the outstanding tokens. So maybe I don't want any individual investor holding more than 49% of my outstanding tokens. Maybe I want that limit to be 20%. Maybe I want it to be 10%. And so this can be based on personal preference. Maybe you don't want any individual investor holding the majority of your tokens, or it can be based on something like a regulatory requirement. Whatever the case may be, this is where you program that into your token. And there we go. And so now let's take a look at enabling third-party whitelist management. And so let's turn this on. Confirm with MetaMask. And now what we're doing here is we're giving someone else the ability to make updates to our whitelist. And so why, as a security token issuer, would you want to do this? Well, you might want to do it because you want to give your KYC provider the ability to make updates to the whitelist without having to send you that CSV file where you need to upload it into the Polymath Token Studio. Another very important reason could be for a third-party trading venue. Maybe your security token has now been listed on a third-party trading venue. You want to give that exchange or that ATS the ability to make updates to your whitelist without having to contact you, without having to have you go into the Polymath Token Studio and make these updates. So here's where we can delegate this whitelist management. And now let's give another address the ability to make updates to our whitelist. And so I'll just grab any old address here to show what this looks like. Copy that, and we'll add the new address. And maybe this is exchange number 1 that we're looking to add this permission to. So we'll click confirm and then just a few confirms here with MetaMask. Confirm. And confirm. And so now that address that I have just delegated whitelist management to, it will be able to make updates to my whitelist on my behalf. So there we can see that there. That address that I've labeled exchange number 1 will be able to do that. And we can add that for as many addresses as we're looking to do. So maybe another exchange, maybe another KYC provider, maybe another broker dealer. We can add all of those addresses in here into our whitelist management so we can delegate that ability to them. And now let's take a look at the final tab here in the Polymath Token Studio, which is dividends. And so we call it the dividends tab, but really this could be a capital distribution of any kind. So it could be dividends, it could be interest payments, it could be a share of revenue that you're distributing out to your revenue share token holders. It could be a capital distribution of any kind. And let's just take a look at what this looks like in practice. So first things first, we want to set an address to receive tax withholdings. So we actually have support for tax withholdings here in the Polymath Token Studio when you're paying dividends, just to make all of the accounting work much easier on you. And so I'm setting this address as my own, ending in 2FA, that we've been working with throughout this entire demo, but you could theoretically make that address anything you would like, with most security token issuers using a third-party custodian for that. I'm happy with it being my 2FA address though, so let's click Enable, and we'll enable the ability to distribute dividends. Confirm with MetaMask, and here we go. We need to create a dividend checkpoint. What this checkpoint is doing is it's taking a snapshot of our current token holders. And so really what it's doing is taking a snapshot of this information here. It's saying, okay, here are these 4 addresses that hold tokens, and here's the quantity of tokens that they hold and the percentage that they hold those tokens. So we'll continue. We can download the ownership list if we want, but it's just going to look exactly like this, so we already know what that looks like. We'll add a new dividend distribution. And here we go. We have 3 steps we need to do. First, do we want to exclude any wallets from the dividends calculation? Typically, we would want to exclude our company's reserve from the dividends calculation, right? We don't want to pay dividends to our own company. Doesn't really make sense, so we could do that. However, there could be some specific investor that maybe has different terms, maybe they don't want dividends, whatever the case may be, this is the process to exclude certain wallets from the calculation. Simply upload a CSV like we've been doing throughout this entire time. I have my dividend exclusion list here, which is just this one investor here. So we won't be paying any dividends to this address ending in DB2. Click Open, Update List, and proceed to the next step, which is adding or updating the tax withholdings list. So here we go. Same process that we've been looking at throughout this entire time, uploading a simple CSV file. And so you'll notice that this address ending in DB2, we actually aren't paying any dividends to this address. So this tax withholding will essentially be null and void for that one address. So really we will only be withholding 25% of the dividend from the address ending in 2FA for tax purposes. So we'll open that. We can see here, all correct. Confirm. We'll make sure we click this update button here just to update the tax withholdings list. Confirm. Confirm here with MetaMask. And continue. So if we pay attention over here to this light blue box, we can see there were 4 investors who held the token at checkpoint time. One of the investors has been excluded from the dividend distribution. So 3 investors will receive dividends and 1 investor will have their taxes withheld. So let's click confirm and proceed to the next step. We'll set a name for this dividend distribution. I'll call this September 2019, just so you know when I'm sending this dividend distribution out. We can pay out our dividend in any ERC20 token. So you would just paste the contract address of the token in there. So you could actually pay out dividends in your own security token if you were so inclined. So even though it says any ERC20 token, because security tokens created through Polymath are backwards compatible with ERC20, you could make your dividend payment in your own token. I'm going to make a dividend payment in Poly. And so we can see here, I'm going to make a dividend payment of 1,000 Poly. So we'll configure the dividends. We'll just have a couple MetaMask transactions to confirm here. Confirm. And there we go. So we have successfully configured the dividend. Last thing here is to actually proceed with the dividend distribution after it's been properly configured. There we go. Continue. We'll take a look at the transaction section down here, and we can see that there were these 3 addresses we sent dividends to. So we'll take a closer look at this first one, right? So the address ending in 2FA, that's what we've been working with the entire time here. The pre-tax dividends was 818 poly roughly. We withheld 25% of that for tax purposes, which is around 204.5 poly. So we actually paid out 613.6 poly to this address. And we can take a look on Etherscan just to make sure that this transaction went through 100%. You can see the ERC20 token transactions, and there we go. I received my 613 poly dividend. So all is good there. And then finally, as the security token issuer, we want to actually have those withheld taxes withdrawn into the wallet that we set earlier. And so there's 204.5 poly currently sitting in escrow. Let's withdraw those to our own address that we set earlier. And remember, I set that as my own address, that 2FA address. However, this could be any address we set at the beginning of the dividends process. It could be a third-party custodian, or it could be our own. It could be our CFO's address, our finance team, whatever the case may be. So here we go. Continue. And let's take a look at Etherscan again to see that those withheld taxes were withdrawn to our wallet. And there we go. Right, so the 204.5 poly, those have been withdrawn to our wallet. And there you have it. That is the Polymath Token Studio demo for September 2019. I hope you saw how easy it was to go from token symbol reservation to token symbol creation to connecting with third-party service providers to help us out with our offering, to manually mint and distribute tokens, to program our security token offering, which is set to go off in 7 days, to update our whitelist and also to delegate the whitelist management to a third party, and to make a capital distribution where we paid out a 1,000 poly dividend to our token holders. So thank you so much for watching this demo. If you have any further questions or you want to reach out to the Polymath team, you can always head over to our homepage, which is polymath.network, and you can hit the contact us button there and you can reach out. If you have a more technical question, so maybe you're in the Polymath Token Studio and you're not quite sure about something, or you just want some further confirmation on something, you can always click the help button down here to reach out to the team. Thank you very much. Have a great day.